welcome to Digital Shift, also known as Corporate Evolution Tales. Join us as we dive into the dynamic world of digital transformation. From illuminating case studies to captivating narratives, we uncover the stories behind companies' journeys toward digital excellence. Whether you are a seasoned corporate leader or an aspiring innovator, our podcast explores the shifts, challenges of modern business evolution. Hello everyone, this is another episode of Digital Shift, aka Corporate Evolution Tales, and today my guest is David. Hi David, thank you so much for joining our episode today. How are you?
Fine, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Okay, would you like to introduce yourself before we'll dive into digital transformation?
Sure. My name is David, the digital creator, and I really enjoy helping people understand how to use technology to connect with the people that they want to serve.
Amazing. Okay, so, I think we can start with the question of what do you think about digital transformation? What is digital transformation for you?
I think if we were having this conversation 20 years ago, it might have been a little bit different.
For sure.
At each juncture, technology allows us to do different things, and it really has accelerated the transformation of how money is made or how business is done.
Mm-hmm.
Agriculture used to be the most important thing, but then technology has made information more important. But now people are struggling and competing for attention like never before.
Yes.
Of the 8 billion people in the world, they say that 5 billion are online, which means that unlike yesteryear, your next door neighbor who has a business like yours is not the only competition. It's people from across the globe who are trying to get your friends and family's attention. And so a digital transformation is being mindful of all that means, and then making a plan to support I think the simple way of looking at it is, if I want to help people with the value that I have, I need to find the most efficient way to connect with them. And nowadays that means having a digital plan as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, for sure, I totally agree with the fact that if we will compare even like 5 years ago and now, what it means for people, digital transformation, and specifically for like companies, I think it differs a lot. And specifically now with having companies that are actually supporting with digital transformation, like they're helping you to go through that process. I mean, if we would speak about this like several years ago, we will just say, okay, what are doing those companies, right? So why people need help with digital transformation and all this stuff. So yes, agree. And so based on your experience, what do you think? Are there any specific phases for digital transformation? Like, is there anything specific when we are speaking about digital transformation that is coming to your mind as a phase? At the beginning, for example, in the middle of digital transformation?
Well, interesting. I think that it's important when you're getting ready to go on social media, you already have a clear vision before you get on the platform.
Yes.
So this clarity phase is really essential, because what happens is if we don't have clarity on who we are, who we're serving, and the unique way that we solve their special problem, then we can get sucked into the vortex of creating content just for, likes and shares. And those are great. But if you're not getting the right people to like or comment or share, then you have a futile exercise. There's speaking of making the digital shift, I was having a sales conversation with a company that was very successful in their particular industry, and they had a process whereby they would regularly bring in leads. But now they wanted my help to bring that online. And I realized even though they had a successful mechanism, they weren't aware of the tools that we use online.
Yes.
And I was surprised, because they're very successful, that they weren't aware. But then I realized it's very possible for someone to have spent years mastering an in-person approach that doesn't really utilize digital things. And so it's really important to get clear before you get on the digital platform, so that you're not distracted by metrics that aren't necessarily valuable
Mm-hmm.
to your bottom line.
Yes, agree. I think generally, like when we are speaking about the kickoff, that is basically like just when we are starting digitalization, and specifically with the tools, as you mentioned, that it's so important to be aware of those tools that there are currently and like working on them and with them actually. And if you are specifically providing that service of digitalizing, it's so important to be on top of everything. And specifically with AI being there, I think we can't escape that question. What are your thoughts on AI, and is it helping with digitalizing or is it like more disturbing?
AI is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm saying it that way because there are many people who are frightened by AI, and I
Yes.
understand why. It is frightening, but it is
Mm-hmm.
also amazing. Seth Godin, great marketing guru, I was listening to several of his interviews as he was talking about the way that he uses AI, and he uses it. It doesn't replace his writing. It
Mm-hmm.
just allows him to do things that clarify next steps. So, for example, and then I'll share how I use it.
Okay.
So he would take like a proposal and then put it
Mm-hmm.
inside his particular AI tool of choice and say, come up with 5 questions that we haven't thought of in terms of the validity of the strategy that we're using. And
Mm-hmm.
so it does that, and then it allows him then to get clearer on, possible problems with the methodology that he's proposing to be used, a strategy,
Mm-hmm.
marketing implementation. So for me, I literally um, use ChatGPT to help me as an assistant, and
Mm-hmm.
literally I'm troubleshooting there, and then I'm going to my team because what happens
Mm-hmm.
is I'm really able to leverage that to like get rid of some earlier stages of
Yes.
you know I like building within a community, but it can often take a longer time. And so if you
Yeah.
can get to the better ideas and choices and kind of woodshed
Mm-hmm.
some stuff before you come to those that you collaborate with, then I think it helps you to be more efficient time wise.
Yes, agree. I mean, I think when people are saying, "Are you afraid of AI?" My answer is the same, that like you can be afraid of it if you don't have enough knowledge how to use it properly. So it's all about the usage, and definitely like it's saving so much time, specifically like I think several years ago, before having this AI boom going on, it was all about Googling stuff.
Right.
And I'm comparing it with that. So you just have a new platform where there is so much data that you can use, and it is interactive. So it's like you are putting their question and it's just not answer but also suggestion, which is great. And I think it's just about being able to use it properly, to save the time to find correct data, to be able to find the answer that you're looking for and then come up with the solution. I mean, a lot of people that are saying that they're afraid of that, I think those are the people that are just giving that prompt to same GPT and
Mm-hmm.
then just taking whatever it is giving without
Mm-hmm.
checking it. So, and if I'm not mistaken, in like very small font, there is written even there that you need to check the answers that it is giving, right? So as soon as you know that, I think you should be fine with using it and making your life easier or more productive, at least. Maybe not easier. Yeah. So definitely agree there. And when we are speaking about like the processes of the digitalization or automation, what is your experience on like specific areas, like based on your experience? Are there any specific areas that you think can be digitalized in your field?
Okay. So, yes. Well, let's take this example. Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan, they wrote several books to help us
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs. And I believe one is called Who, Not How. But the idea is that instead of me trying to figure out everything, as I love
Mm-hmm.
to do, I would be better served to find someone, a who, that already
Mm-hmm.
knows how to do it. Right. And then I
Yeah.
figure it out. Either pay them, barter, do something, but allow people who are great at the thing to do the thing. AI can be that who. So
Mm-hmm.
if we go back a step all right, well, if I'm applying this who, not how principle, maybe I'm hiring a virtual assistant.
Yeah.
And virtual assistant might be more affordable. Their hourly rate might be a lot more affordable than my hourly rate. And so I can get
Mm-hmm.
them to do things that they're really good at and more effectively use the budget. But what
Yeah.
happens if now a software can do the
Mm-hmm.
same thing that they were doing? Oh, then it takes it up another notch. So, for example, if I'm creating content on my social media platform and then I want to offer greater value in order to
Mm-hmm.
get my potential client's email address and or phone number, then I can say, let's say that I'm talking about how to create successful content
Yeah.
on social media. And so I give a tip and then I go, um, if you'd like my free guide on how to succeed on Instagram, just comment
Mm-hmm.
the word guide and we'll be sure to send that out to you today.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when they comment the word guide, then AI can recognize that and have an automated sequence of messages to get their email and then send them the content. So
Mm-hmm.
now I don't have to use the who, I can
Yeah.
just use the software. So I think for me, the strategy initially was, okay, David, stop doing everything yourself, form a team. And then it's like, well, let's leverage another level up. So I
Mm-hmm.
believe it was Naval Ravikant who has his 4 levels of leverage when it comes to business. There's
Mm-hmm.
labor, capital, media, and code.
Yeah.
So labor is what we just talked about, right? Getting someone else to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Capital would be if I have a rich uncle and I can borrow some to help me like pay for ads or pay for equipment that
Mm-hmm.
I need for my business. But then media would be content. And I coach people on how
Mm-hmm.
to create content on social media. And then code would be software, like the
Yeah.
software that I would use to create that automation. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that for the digital transformation to occur, what we're just doing is we're having higher forms of leverage. And the higher
Mm-hmm.
forms would be the media and the code.
Yes, definitely. And so you mentioned about parts that I think are bringing also some challenges. So what do you think are very common challenges for your field related to digitalization?
Well, quite honestly, someone like myself, I'm educating people on content creation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an educator, so I love learning. So the
Mm-hmm.
temptation is to learn how to do everything. So the software that you use to communicate to, in our case, our company has a software called Biz Greenhouse, which is
Mm-hmm.
our CRM, where we host our websites and our funnels, our landing pages. We have
Mm-hmm.
our automations there, and we use it to send out emails and or text messages to our clients. Well, it takes a little bit to figure out a software that's powerful like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
I think there's a lot of stuff where we're tempted to figure stuff out where
Mm-hmm.
we really should not. I would say that's like that's the big issue. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
very easy
Yeah.
because I enjoy learning things to get sucked into learning this and learning this. And then another problem is having too many paths as
Yeah.
a business. Over and over again, I hear people say one offer, one avatar, one platform,
Mm-hmm.
because it's very easy with all the innovation and technology available to us to get distracted.
Yes, for sure. Agree. And based on my experience, we had so many companies whom we had helped with digitalization, and they were using so many tools like parallelly, even with same feature. Just one department was using this one, and the other was using that one, and it was so interesting to see like giving them the report after analyzing their processes, like what they are actually using, what it cost them to use those tools, and how they can save by, I don't know, just using one thing, as you mentioned, for example, in your company, right? So you're using one tool which is helping you to be concentrated and knowing that, okay, this is the one source of truth, or like this is the source where I can find the data. And definitely, specifically with big companies, that is a big challenge and issue when they are using so many tools that are doing the same thing or almost the same thing, and they can just combine it to one, I don't know, advanced subscription of one tool, right? So I think you are right there. It's about the challenges that are coming with using the tool and making sure that you're using the right one and everyone is onboarded on the tool, like how to properly use it. And when we are speaking about the usage of the tools and general digitalizing, what do you think is important in that path, like working all together? Is it about experienced people? Is it about good communication inside the company? Or there is any other secret that is coming to your mind?
This may seem odd because we already talked about it. Um, Communication is very important. Having
Mm-hmm.
people who know how to do stuff is very important. Um, Over and over again, coming back to clarity.
Yeah.
I find my students that I'm helping to create content that actually gets noticed by the people they want to serve, they create a plan where each content piece that they create has a
Mm-hmm.
purpose. It's aligned to a pain point or a problem of the people they wish to serve.
Mm-hmm.
And so keeping that clarity that this is why I'm here. So one could say there are pieces like, for example, when I'm on social media, I'll ask my community questions like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I want to get to know my online family. What's your favorite kind of food? I'll go first. And I say, I love bibimbap. I love Korean food, for example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hey, let me know what's your favorite in the comments. Sorry. And so what happens is I start a conversation that might not
Mm-hmm.
directly relate to the problem of them being tech challenged
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
knowing how to create engaging content, but it actually demonstrates what they need to do. It needs to be relatable,
Mm-hmm.
and authentic. And
Yeah.
so making sure that everything is aligned to the purpose of people know, liking, and trusting you and you
Mm-hmm.
solving their problem, that I think that clarity is the most important thing, even in setting up your digital systems.
Yes. Yeah, definitely agree. And you brought some examples which I want to ask this question, like, are there any key lessons from your experience like you would like to share with the audience on this process and generally, like starting from having the clarity? What are other key lessons that you would like to share?
I had a situation where I worked with a wonderful company, and that clarity, we had it, but the way that things developed, I had clarity with the leader of the company, but we
Mm-hmm.
didn't get buy-in from those that ran the company for that individual. And so I realized that it can't, like everybody, you have to have a shared vision. And that's something
Mm-hmm.
that was a painful truth, because what happens then is people are not fighting for the best ideas. They're just fighting because they were upset that they weren't part of that
Mm-hmm.
process of idea creation and vision creation. And
Yeah.
therefore, they're either dragging their feet or they're making things difficult for the implementation because of that. And so it's really important not only to get clarity, but to get buy-in, having a
Mm-hmm.
corporate vision as you're making this digital transformation. I would say that's another important thing too.
Yes, definitely agree. And we spoke about some tools, specifically the one that you are using. Are there any other technologies or like tools that you will suggest for people to use for having that digitalized process on their side?
Interesting. So we already mentioned AI, and
Mm-hmm.
some people use Perplexity, Claude, Gemini instead of ChatGPT. And so there are reasons why one might want to check those out. So I would say explore several options to see
Mm-hmm.
which one fits your particular needs best. Because you might
Yes.
find one doesn't create stuff as but one doesn't make up stuff as much as others. So for
Yeah.
example, maybe Claude might give references for what it says, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore you have less of a chance of I don't know, ChatGPT making up
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
so I would say also, in addition, there are so many tools that have been enhanced, augmented by AI. So for example, when I'm in a meeting, I'm
Mm-hmm.
having a tool called Fathom take notes. So
Yeah.
now I don't have to have someone take notes at every meeting because
Yes.
AI is doing it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
is great.
Right. Right.
Um, and then even while I do have virtual assistants that help me with video editing, but you have Opus Clips,
Mhm.
Too many Riverside does it too, where the AI will take
Mhm.
the long form video and chop it up into short reels or TikTok
Yes.
length videos that you can post the shorts or reels or TikTok
Yeah.
videos. So yeah, there's just so many different tools like that. And I would encourage people not to get overwhelmed, but look at the major
Right.
challenges they're having and then
Mhm.
and then ask ask your favorite AI, what tools could help me with this challenge?
Mhm.
And they'd be
Mhm.
surprised.
Yes.
Literally, it could give you the solution about what new tools
Yes.
might work
Which
best for you.
tools to use? Agree. Definitely. Awesome. Well, I think this will be my last question, and it is about the advice, David, that you would like to give to our audience related to digital transformation and digitalizing stuff. So, what will be your advice?
Please don't change
Mm-hmm.
because you think it will make you more attractive. Please
Mm-hmm.
be yourself. So, being yourself can be who you authentically are, but you might have to learn to invoke curiosity at the beginning of your content
Mm-hmm.
and have a call to action at the end. But still be yourself. In the middle, the value that you share, the solutions, let them be your stories, your truth,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a horrible situation to figure out the algorithm and then find that you're creating content that isn't what you care about, that isn't
Yeah.
authentically you. And then, and to feel that you have to live a lie in order to
Yes.
be successful. That's, I
Yes.
think, the most important thing. I'm a gospel recording artist. And earlier in my career, I remember sitting down with a marketing
Mm-hmm.
professional who was like trying to convince me that I needed to change. And,
Yeah.
the style of music that I was doing is not black enough. Yeah. All right. So, oh, okay. So, yeah, basically saying, like, okay, well, your style, you have to go one way or another because where you are is not marketable.
Mm-hmm.
So if I
Mm-hmm.
had listened to them, or another thing that they would say is, well, people really, what are the metrics on your content? And I'd share, and they'd say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so you had a lot of likes. How many people shared it?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone shared it. Well, that means they don't really like it. Now, sharing is a more powerful metric in terms of it takes more wherewithal for someone to comment than it
Mm-hmm.
does to like. It takes more wherewithal for someone to share it than just to comment. But there's also even generational things. So
Agree.
people 50 and older, they might not take the energy to share as much as someone who's younger. And so there are
Yes.
other factors that she wasn't aware of. But now, I have over 1.5 million followers, which is 50 times the number of followers that she has. And if I had
Mm-hmm.
listened to her, where would I be today?
Yes.
So you have to follow your authentic truth. You have to know who you are and then figure out how to share that value.
Mm-hmm. Agree. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Last words, David, before we will wrap up this episode.
Oh, I just want to thank you for having me. And if anybody has a question in this area that you want to ask me, feel free to email me at david@contentcreatingacademy.
Yes, for sure. And as I mentioned, I'll also leave the link to this podcast in my LinkedIn. So anyone that will be interested to contact with David, you can do that also through the LinkedIn page as well. So thank you again, David, so much for being my guest today and sharing your experience on digital transformation.
It's my honor.